Hello and welcome back to another FNF video. Today we'll be discussing yet another update that is still yet to be released. And that update's name is Dearest Dungeon, an update that was teased during the Song Pack 2 trailer, so let's get started. So far, Phantom Arcade or any of their base game devs are still yet to give clues on what this update will be, so unfortunately we have to figure this out ourselves. Until the devs announce anything revolving around this update, but luckily I have 3 theories on what this update will be. The first theory I'd like to discuss is more of a wildcard crack theory than an actual theory I agree with, but I still want to bring it up anyways because it still could happen. So yeah, the first theory I'd like to discuss is that Dearest Dungeon is a level slash side week similar to Weekend 1. Of course this sounds ridiculous without proper evidence, but there's actual proof that Dearest Dungeon might be a level. So let's go through each piece of evidence. 1. We know that not every level will be a week, and we know this because of Weekend 1, and also since Phantom Arcade emphasizes levels when talking about the plan to add more OC opponents to FNF story.
Is next week going to be another NG cameo and original? The next level will be an original character. The next levels will be original characters.
2. Each playable character will probably have a unique name for the levels they start in due to the fact that boyfriend focus levels are called weeks and Pico levels are called weekends, and yes, weekends are only for Pico as confirmed by Phantom Arcade.
The children yearn to know, will Pico be the only character we play as during the weekends? Please, Mr. Arcade, we got to know. And yeah, the weekends are his side story. Dragon hit the dollar and said, wait, just to confirm, the weekend levels are just going to be Pico, right? The weekend levels are his side story, yes.
And finally, the last piece of evidence is that BF and Pico receive more love and attention in terms of storytelling, yet again confirmed by Phantom Arcade.
Cyber LA Dog hit the dollar. Yo Dave, what up? Question, will other NG/OG content have as much spotlight as Pico? I love Pico as much as the next guy, but I love to see the stories from others also keep up. Also keep up the good work, my dyslexic ass, who inspire me every day long. Definitely there will be other characters who get a lot of attention and love. Like a lot of attention and love. I think Pico's almost kind of worked his way up to being this, I don't know, he's kind of just slotted nicely as their pal that they fucking hang out with, who just is kind of like around. This mystic pal who they just can't fucking get rid of, I guess. So he's kind of grown to kind of get like more attention in the story, I guess. He was originally intended to just show up and be gone, but the way that like it's just kind of writing bit by bit, he's around. So maybe other people won't get maybe as much attention, that they might not be as like long standing as him, but like there are definitely other characters that already have a fat chunk of shit made for them that I think it, you know, it won't always just be boyfriend girlfriend show. Like other characters, they'll get their time to shine, they'll get their fun. B-Man.
So since BF is the main protagonist, he'll obviously receive more levels compared to the other playable characters, and since weekends are Pico's side story, we can expect them to drag on for a couple levels. So we can assume that the other playable characters will most likely only have one level where they're playable. For example, there will be a one playable Takeman level, one playable Hank level, etc. And that could explain why Dearest Dungeon doesn't have a number at the end like the weeks or weekends. But now that we proved the likelihood of Dearest Dungeon being a level, which character would you play as in this level? Well, since the name of the level is Dearest Dungeon, there are 4 candidates who we could play as. Option 1, Daddy Dearest. Having one of the main antagonists be a playable character may sound wild, but there's actually a lot of evidence to support this. First, the unused character select screen shows us Daddy's character icon on it. Sure, this could have been a way to see how the character icons would have looked on the character select screen, but there's still a possibility that this could happen. Second, there's an unused Tinkman voice line where Tinkman makes fun of Daddy Dearest's parenting skills.
Old man's got moves. Bummer you raised a whore though. Ooh.
Of course, this could be for playable Tinkman since he was promised to be a playable character and there is an unused character select nameplate for him. And maybe Tankman might make fun of every opponent in his Tankman mixes, so it could be foreshadowing for his eventual playable update. But it could also be a deaf dialogue for Daddy Dearest losing to Tankman since he roasts both Pico and BF when they lose to him. Third, it is a common trope in video games to unlock the villain slash final boss as a playable character in a game, especially fighting games which the game's character select screen takes obvious inspiration from. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to have Daddy as a main character in his own side week. And finally, the level has his surname in it, so it's kind of a dead giveaway there, but with that said, let's look at candidate number 2, Mommy Mires. This one I don't think will happen if this is a level, due to the fact that I don't see a reason for Mommy to be playable. Sure, it would be cool if she was, because I would like to hear how some Mommy mixes would sound like, but there's a few reasons why I don't think she'll be a playable character in a level. 1. Mommy and Daddy always felt like opposites slash parallels to BF and GF, since we have the main conflict of the game revolve around BF and Daddy, while we have Mommy and GF as supporting characters to their respective partners to achieve their goals. 2. It's kind of a continuation of 1, but Mommy, despite being a major threat to BF and GF's relationship, still feels to me like a side villain than a main one like Daddy, so she won't be as important as him. And finally, her surname is Mires, so it doesn't make sense why she'll be the protagonist of a level called Dearest Dungeon. So yeah, let's move on to candidate number 3, Girlfriend. I have mixed opinions about this, but I do hope this is true because ever since playable characters became a thing, everyone has always wanted GF to be playable and have our own remixes, myself included. And besides, the character select screen needs some playable female characters before it becomes a sausage fest. And also, since one of the playable female characters we are supposed to unlock has been removed for obvious reasons. But yeah, it would be cool to play as GF in the base game, but I don't think that will be the case due to a few reasons. Reason 1. Since GF acts as BS support in his songs, it would be strange to have a support character be playable, since we're still yet to see that happen in the base game. 2. We don't know GF's last name because she could have either her dad's last name or her mom's one. And since this is Dearest Dungeon, the only way I see this working is if GF reveals her last name is Dearest. And yes, I feel like it's important for the protagonist of a level called Dearest Dungeon to be called Dearest. Don't judge me. But for now, let's talk about a wildcard 4th option for who the protagonist of Dearest Dungeon would be. Girlfriend's brother slash the potential opponent of week 8. Bro. For those who are unaware, many people, myself included, have theorized that week 8's opponent is going to be Girlfriend's brother due to a leaked song called Bro that was found during the old Weekend 1 leak. This, and along with a cryptic radar that was once teased by the devs, led people to instantly suspect week 8's opponent to be GF's brother. And considering the fact that he's GF's brother, he's most likely going to have an important role in the game story, and I highly doubt it will only just be for week 8. Heck, even if it's just to build up hype for a playable bro level, in this case Dearest Dungeon, it would be cool as hell. But considering the fact that we don't know that much about bro, unless you've seen the leaks for week 8, which for some reason people share without censoring their thumbnails, I think it's still too early to theorize about what his role will be in the game's narrative. The idea of Dearest Dungeon sounds cool to me on paper, but just like how I mentioned earlier, this is more of a wildcard theory than an actual theory that I myself don't personally believe. But with that said, let's move on to the next one, which I do believe wholeheartedly. Theory number 2. Dearest Dungeon is a survival style challenge mode. You know how in fighting games like Taken or Shadow Fight 2 they have a game mode where you keep fighting enemies in a best out of 1 fight where your HP only slightly goes back up after you win a fight while you're forced to fight opponents with full HP? But I think that's what Dearest Dungeon is going to be. It'll basically be a mix between the random song option in free play and survival where you have to stay alive as long as possible while playing songs picked in a random order. And while you're playing a song in this game mode, you have to be careful of missing notes as they will permanently decrease your health until you beat a song and regain a bit of it back. And also you have to be careful as well as I think you won't be able to gain HP from node presses at all, thus making it one hell of a challenge for true FNF veterans. Of course, this one is a little out there and doesn't have much evidence to back it up, unlike the level theory, but honestly, I think that it still might happen for a reason. The FNF crew are obsessed with fighting game references in the base game, so adding a game mode that is based on a game mode that is typically found in fighting games wouldn't be too far of a stretch for them to realistically do, especially considering the fact that the game already makes a lot of fighting game references, like the character select screen stay funky being inspired by Let's Get It On from Street Fighter Free Third Strike. The original concept of Blazing being a rhythm-based fighting minigame. Hell, even the poses of Pico and Daniel are references to Rio and Guile's fighting poses respectively. I could go on about how much FNF is inspired by fighting games, but if I did, I would be here all day. So yeah, you got the point. Dearest Dungeon might be a survival challenge mode for FNF. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next theory, which many fans thought of when they first saw the update's name in the Pit Stop 2 trailer. Theory number 3. Dearest Dungeon is a roguelike game mode. If you don't know what roguelikes are, it's basically such a genre of games where the goal is to beat the game just like how you would with any other game. But as a catch, every time you die, you get sent back to the beginning and lose all your progress. But when you do die, you unlock rewards which can help improve your next round. Along with that, you can also find some buffs and upgrades, but unlike the resources you unlock after each successful end or failed run, these ones only last until you die. Examples of roguelike games include Don't Starve, Balatro, Hades, and Dead Cells. These types of games are usually very difficult and you're expected to die several times when playing them, because that's what gives these games infinite replayability. So yeah, now that you have a general understanding of what a roguelike is, you can probably understand what this theory is about. So base match the roguelike theory suggests that the Dearest Dungeon will play like a roguelike game. You play songs to get more difficult as you progress, you gain temporary buffs, you die and unlock new permanent buffs to begin your run with, etc. Of course, this really sounds cool when you think about it, especially since this will add a lot of replayability to the base game, which already has a ton of replayability due to the rankings and a crap ton of remixes implemented so far. But I honestly have mixed opinions about this video, especially since I have yet to see a roguelike rhythm game. Sure, there might be one out there that exists and I just never heard of it before, so maybe I'm just being an idiot and not being aware of the hundreds of underrated indie games out there. But yeah, the idea of a rhythm game having roguelike mechanics sounds so strange to me, because what kind of buffs would you even get during and after a run? Like maybe there could be a buff that prevents you from losing health from the first 3 miss notes, but besides that I can't really think of anything else. And when it comes to evidence, I don't really got anything to support it. But hey, if you're someone who believes that Dearest Dungeon is a roguelike game mode, please comment on how you think it would work if it ends up being real. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment on what you think will be the most likely scenario for Dearest Dungeon, subscribe if you're new, and also make sure to check out my playlist for my FNF remixes on Hex, as well as checking out my previous FNF theories. And if you're a Deltarune fan, I also have some Deltarune theories you can check out if you want. And as well as that, you can follow me on my social media accounts on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where I just use the same username as I do on YouTube. And with that said, I'm gonna see you guys later. Anyway, later, nerds.